So what are you working on that the party is not working on that you think is going to be very effective in getting out the vote, regardless of who wins?
Yeah. So, guys, for people in Florida, I don't know how many people watching are in Florida, but we have recently lost our rights to bodily autonomy here. And I want to remind people out there, Florida is not a red state. Florida is a state with a red legislature, but Florida is kind of a populist purple state. It really is. The people that are in charge are not sort of like indicative.
I would call it a swing red state, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't swing in the other
direction. And the point is, it's nowhere near the redness that you would see if you were just looking at what our legislature is, right? Like and it's totally different shades of red. But the point is, there will be a ballot initiative that we're getting on the ballot to include abortion rights in our Constitution. We have until December 31st to get close to 1 million signatures across the state. It is a huge effort that is being undertaken. I was on a meeting the other night with over 700 people that were all volunteering like me to sort of be collectors of petitions and then hub leaders and all this stuff. But if you are anywhere in the vicinity of being a Florida voter, or a Florida voter, they can sign this petition. It's easily downloadable. Right now I don't have the link on me, but we're going to have the link. You guys can download it and you can mail it in, or you can bring it to a hub. There's lots of hubs. My house is now a hub. But we are going to get our bodily autonomy back. That's what we're doing. So, and I've read the initiative. It's totally solid. It's already been it's all legal, very, very organized effort. And it puts it in the perfect place. Florida's Constitution actually does include the right to privacy specifically. The right to privacy is specifically mentioned in the Florida Constitution. We don't have it in our national Constitution, but Florida does.
Probably the best thing that could have happened for the Democratic Party. But of course, they're fumbling the ball with it. Not a surprise.
No, they're not. Okay, so that's another part of the story. But what's so screwed up? So apparently, people, the concept of privacy is too amorphous for people to understand that it includes bodily autonomy. So therefore, we have to actually, for the cheap, stupid seats, create a literal amendment to our Constitution that allows for the right of abortion. And that's what we're doing. Because apparently privacy is not a sufficient enough right to protect my body. You would think it would be, but apparently it's not. Apparently it needs to be spelled out exactly as to what I am allowed to do with my person.
And very often when people give the argument about being pro-life, it's always centered on the most inexcusable,
it's religion-based usually.
Yeah,
it's usually religion-based.
Sure, but they always want to pinpoint the most obscure circumstances, like somebody who's attempting a late-term abortion or somebody who is promiscuous.
And yet there's never really any facts about it. They're all like these sort of like urban legend anecdotes. And the reason that's so is because no woman chooses to have a third trimester abortion for any other reason than necessity. Medical, either her, the baby, whatever it is, no woman carries a baby to third term and then decides, that's not a thing. And even in places where it's legal, there's so few places to have it. There's so few doctors that will even do it. They sell this like it's just a thing, that all these women are just rolling up super pregnant and just having their babies cut out of them. Like that's a thing. That's not a thing.
BW, would you like to elaborate on what you mean by that? Because I cannot say for the life of me what that even means.
My day of worrying about what? I don't know. Oh, you mean me about reproducing? If that's what you mean, I hear you. No need to point out the obvious. But
for other people that,
But I'm not just, it has nothing to do with just me. I reject the whole concept of anybody telling people what to do with their bodies. And how you know for sure it's not pro-life, and this is how you really know. I don't see them offering prenatal care. Do you? Do you see them offering prenatal care to these people?
There's no prenatal care. There's no universal health care.
There's no paid family leave.
There's no pre-K.
There's no pre-K. So they don't give a rat's ass about the life of that baby. This is all about controlling women. And also, by the way, I would argue, if anything around your reasoning as to why I shouldn't be allowed to do what I want with my person has to do with your religion, to me, that's a completely invalid argument. I don't live in a theocracy, and I am tired of people's religious beliefs somehow being rationalized as if it's reasonable. No, it's just actually
and
a
it goes
religious
for every
belief.
and it goes for every religion.
Oh, yeah, no,
just
I don't
because
think
we
so.
are a Judeo-Christian by majority culture, that doesn't mean that not every religion, especially Western religion, has some absurd belief system, but all of it is about control.
And mostly women.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers don't lie, guys. Over 2 out of 3 women believe that you have a right to, choose to do what you want with your own body. And of course, it's about 50-50 with men. So the numbers just kind of spell it out.
What is wrong with these people? Oh my
And the
God.
thing about men, there's one thing we know in this country is that women tend to be more religious than men are. So a lot of the decision making that men are basing their beliefs on have more to do with how they feel about women than they necessarily do about their faith. So when you talk to women who are pro-life, very often they tend to be, at least to a degree, religious. And that is important to them. Even if I believe that that's all nonsense, I can at least understand where they're coming from.
That's great.
When a man says, I don't think a woman has a right to choose, or that is a life, and et cetera,
Well,
et
it's
cetera,
religion.
et cetera.
You don't think it's religion there.
With men, not as much as women.
You think it's just more control.
Absolutely. And that's more about men don't like women that are promiscuous.
I think that, well, they just don't like things that are just not comfortable for them. People don't like to feel uncomfortable. That's why they have issues with the LGBTQ community. That's why they have issues with, the idea of abortion. It's like they don't like it. They don't like it. So nobody should have the right to do that or be that.
No, not at all. But again, women have every right to do what they want because ultimately they're going to do it anyway. You are not stopping it.
It's just all it's going to do. By the way, we already have in the developed world, we have the highest infant and maternal mortality rates. And they are,
why.
Yeah, we will see an increase in that as if that's even possible. What's fascinating about it is our country is literally going in the opposite direction of every other developed nation. Every other developed nation sees increases in life expectancy and decreases in mortality rates. They see that, not us. And I can't wait to see the statistics and how disgusting it's going to just make us look. I say that like hyperbolically. It disgusts me to no end. But our rates of maternal mortality, you already have doctors refusing to perform abortions on women with dead fetuses and or ectopic pregnancies that are going to burst. You have multiple cases now of doctors that are not doing that, and women have to wait until it's literally a life or death situation because the doctors are worried about the criminality. This is not a good idea.
No.
It's just not a good idea.
No, and there was a story recently that just came out, which of course we can address since you obviously brought it up. There was a case where a woman in the state, her name is slipping me right now, but she actually gave birth to a child that didn't have any kidneys. And of course, the child died almost instantly as soon as it was out of the womb. Again, call it whatever you want to call it. But an abortion in that situation, let's say you pretty much can identify within probably the second trimester that the child has no kidneys. That's what you call a mercy killing. And that's a real thing. You could pretend like it is not necessary. But if a child is basically being born without an ability to function as a human, which in this case, people could be born.
They think people should be born even if they have no brainstem and can't breathe on their own.
Of course.
They want women to carry those
babies. I don't know if they believe that. And is it even written in the Bible? Again, forgive me for not even paying attention to what the Bible actually says.
The Bible doesn't talk about any of this.
Does the Bible ever talk about whether or not an abortion is...
No, the only references to abortion in the Bible are explaining how to have one.
Of course.
No, I'm serious. Like bitter water. Like there's this whole thing about performing a home abortion in the Bible. I cannot for the life of me tell you which chapter. Having to do with if your wife sleeps with another man, then you have to give her an abortion. So there's nothing in the Bible about that. That's all hooey-pooey.
Yeah.
Although the truth is the Bible is kind of hooey-pooey too.
Yes, I would say that most of that is, this is definitely one of the more disturbing stories.
There's a lot of them, people, because I reiterate, women don't carry babies till their third term and then decide, nah, no one does that. And there's no doctors that will do that, by the way. No doctor's going to do that. Even abortion doctors don't just do that. It's like these people really have no idea how that works.
You know, one thing I can't stand about CNN, among other things, is, of course, we'll be addressing the Trump town hall.
This is excruciating. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you know anybody who's listening, because of Florida abortion laws, she carried her baby to term knowing he would die.
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing now. This is what people are being forced to do.
Florida woman unable to get an abortion in her state carried to term a baby who had no kidneys. Deborah Dorbert's son Milo died in her arms on March 3rd, shortly after he was born, just as doctors had predicted he would. He gasped for air a couple of times when I held him.
That's not the only issue. She also apparently had no amniotic fluid. Not only was the baby sure to die, her doctors told her, but her pregnancy is especially high risk because it puts her at risk of preeclampsia and that it's a deadly complication. They told her to terminate, but she couldn't. She would have had to go to another state. And believe it or not, most people can't just do that, which is why this affects people who don't have resources. It doesn't affect the rich people. Rich people will get an abortion. Rich people, you know, it's not their problem. Yeah, that's just horrible.
Florida law allows abortions after 15 weeks if two doctors confirm the diagnosis of a fatal fetal abnormality in writing. But doctors in Florida and states with similar laws have been hesitant to terminate such pregnancies for fear someone will question whether the abnormality was truly fatal.
Yeah.
The penalty for violating the law is severe. Doctors can go to prison and face heavy fines and legal fees, basically end their career.
You know what? And again, this is a very small group of radical people that support this.
Well, you know,
religious people don't. I know people that are very pro-life. And they would never in a million years be on board with criminalizing the doctor or the mother. Like the criminalization aspect is something that most people, even if they're pro-life, are not with. And people need to understand that. Like people who are truly religious people that are pro-life, they don't believe incarcerating doctors for helping women who are going to have a stillbirth. So religious people are not all about this. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.